We continue with more questions. 126. A sentence that contains an independent and dependent clause, such as although they delayed the Dme1115 test, we never gave up, is an example of complex sentence, compound sentence, simple sentence, leading sentence. What do you think? So a sentence that contains an independent clause and a dependent clause. A clause is simply a group of words which are part of a sentence. So an independent clause is a clause that makes a sentence and it can exist, can make sense alone. For example, I am tired. But a dependent clause doesn't make sense alone. For example, although you come. It doesn't make sense alone. So when you get to join those two sentences, what do you form? So that is the question saying. So what you are going to form is a complex sentence. But when you get to join two clauses which are both making sense alone or they are independent, you are going to form a compound sentence. For example, I am hungry and then I need to cook. They are both making sense alone. I am angry, so I need to cook. If you join them, you are going to form a compound sentence when you join two independent clauses. Let's consider question 127. The sentence, because God loves me, He always forgives me, and that I am grateful, is an example of simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, compound complex sentence. So when you look at this sentence, we have got three parts. Because God is grateful, He always forgives me, I am grateful. So He always forgives me is a sentence that makes sense on its own. I am grateful is a sentence that makes sense on its own. Those two sentences, when we get to join them together, or those two clauses, when we join them together, we are going to form a compound sentence. And then, because God loves me, that is an independent clause. I mean, a dependent clause. It doesn't make sense alone. So when you have got two independent clauses with one dependent clause, you form a compound complex sentence. So that is it. 128. When internet was starting, it was first called Advanced Research Project Agents Network ARPANET, Advanced Regional Project Agents Network, American Research Project Agents Network, American Regional Project Agents Network. Well, when internet was starting, it was started, of course, it was an American project. It was called Advanced Research Project Agents Network. So that is A. 129. Dash dictates how messages are reassembled and handles lost information. Dash dictates how messages are reassembled and handles lost information. Internet Protocol IP, Transmission Control Protocol TCP, both none. So what do we think? Alright, so it is the Transmission Control Protocol. It does reassemble and handle lost information. When you talk about IP, that is the Internet Protocol, that is just what is responsible for determining the format of information as information is getting to be transferred. That is the IP. Just the determination that is what is responsible for determining the format of the information. 130. An application program designed and written to destroy other programs is called software, virus, application, threat. What do you think? So that is a virus, correct. 131. A Trojan horse is a small piece of software that uses computer network and security OS to replicate itself. A program that claims to do one thing but instead does damage when you run it. A virus that travels as an attachment to email messages, all of the above. So what do you think about that one? What is a Trojan virus? or a Trojan horse. Alright, so when you are talking about a Trojan horse, it is simply a program that claims to do one thing but instead does the other when you run it. And then a small piece of software that uses computer networks and security holes to replicate itself is called a worm. And then C, a virus that travels as an email attachment to email messages is called an email virus. 132. The following are tips to avoid viruses and lessen their impact, except deleting emails from unknown or suspicious, untrustworthy sources, especially those with files attached to an email. Never open a file attached to an email unless you know what it is, even if it appears to come from a friend. Update your antivirus software at least every 2 weeks, as over 200 viruses are discovered each month. Back up your files not too periodically to avoid risk of attack. Which one do you think is correct? So the answer is D, back up your files not too periodically. So you need to back up your files periodically to avoid risk of attack. 133. The following are key security concepts used to prevent weakness from being exploited on a computer: confidentiality, integrity, availability, accessibility. So the following are key security concepts used to prevent weaknesses from being exploited on a computer, except. So they're supposed to be except. So which one of these is not a security concept used to prevent weakness of a computer? So what do we think? So that is of course accessibility. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability are key concepts to make sure that a computer is not exploited. And confidentiality means access accessed only by authorized users. So this program or this portion can be only accessed by authorized users. For example, only students can access them. And then integrity means this component should only be modified by authorized users. For example, when you talk about patient information, it should only be modified by authorized users. And then availability means it should be always there for accounts to be able to check. So when you're talking about this kind of information, it should always be there for users to be able to check their accounts. That is accessibility. You need to be able to access your account. I mean availability. You need to be able to check your accounts periodically so that if there are things that are going on. So that is availability. So accessibility is not part of them. One, the three is of security to protect your computer, except. So which are the 3 Ds to protect your computer? Defense, deterrence, detection, deny. So it is deny. The rest are the 3 Ds but not deny. So defense means you reduce the risk and saving cost of incidences. For example, you get to put firewalls or antivirus software on your computer. That is reducing the risk. And then deterrence means you get to punish everyone who gets to attack so that they are going to be able to think twice. You need to punish them like law enforcers should be able to punish those who get to attack or even get to steal computers or anything like that. And then detection means you need alert if security incidents occur. For example, you need to have things like network traffic monitoring, also detection systems. For example, when there is something that is happening, noise happens so that you can anyone is about thing wrong. 135. A type of computer that shares data and resources with other computers is a mainframe, supercomputer, server, laptop. So that is a server. When you talk about a supercomputer, this is simply a computer that does a lot of mathematical operations. It is so fast and it performs those big mathematical operations in a quick way. 1 fix. The four examples of secondary memory, except floppy disk, hard disk, main memory, none of the above. So a floppy disk and a hard disk are examples of secondary memory, but a main memory is not an example. So that's an 137. The following are input devices except keyboard, mouse, touchscreen, monitor. So you can use a keyboard for input, even a mouse, even a touchscreen, but a monitor you can't use it for inputting. So that is an output device. You just use it to see what you are inputting. 138. Which of the following is both an input and output device? Keyboard, monitor, touchscreen, mouse. So that is a touchscreen. Like you can use a touchscreen to be able to write and also to be able to see. Digit 0 or 1 is code, byte, bit, KB, GB. What do you think? So that is a bit. Option B. A byte consists of 8 bits. 140. Dash bits are needed to represent 64 unique items. So to be able to find the number of items n, you are having 2 to the power n. Okay, this n is representing the bits, and then the number of items is represented by 2 to the power n. So 2 to the power n is equal to the number of items that we have is 64, because 2 to the power n represents the items. So we want to find the value of n. So this is going to 2 to the power n is equal to, what should be the base such that, what should be the power such that if the base is 2, you are going to get a 64. That's a 6. 2 to the power 6 is 64. So therefore n is equal to 6. 141. A KB is equal to 1024 bits, 8192 bits, 8192 bytes, 1025 bytes. We need to note a KB is equal to 2 to the power 10 bytes. And this 2 to the power 10 bytes, if you compute on a calculator, is going to give you 1024 bytes. So do we have this option, 124 bytes? We don't have. And we know that 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So out of 1024 bytes, how many bits are going to be there? So we'll multiply 1024 with 8. That is going to give us 8192 bits. 142. A GB is equal to 1024 KB, 1024 times 1024 KB, 1024 times 1024 bytes, 1024 times 1024 times 1024 kilobytes. What do you think? So we know that 1 KB is equal to 2 to the power 10 bytes. And then the next after a KB we have got a megabyte. So 1 megabyte is equal to 2 to the power 20. So they move just with the difference of 10 bytes again. And then from there we have got a gigabyte, which is equal to 2 to the power 30 bytes. And then we have got a terabyte, which is the 40 bytes. So I can break this 2 to the power 30 on a GB. I can write it as 2 to the power 10 multiplied by 2 to the power 10, again multiplied by another 2 to the power 10. So these are all bytes. Okay, like that. But we know that 2 to the power 10 bytes is equal to what? A kilobyte. So I'm going to put, where there is 2 to the power 10 bytes, I'm going to put a kilobyte. That means we're going to have 2 to the power 10 multiplied by 2 to the power 10, and then we're going to have KB. And what does 2 to the power 10 give us? Gives us 1024. So this will be 1024 times 1024 and then times the KB. But when you multiply a number with later we can just say 1024 times 1024 kb. So therefore the answer is what? The answer is B. Well, in this tutorial, let's end here and we're going in the next tutorial to go on with more questions.